Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome again to AIM Academy's Science Day with Dr. Karen Joseph. I am a science teacher at AIM Academy, and I teach 3 online science classes. Starting in January, I will be teaching 2 mini courses. One is called The Wonders of Water. That's a 7-week course, as is the Sensational Senses. I also will be teaching a semester-long zoology course. So I encourage you to go to Deborah Bell's AIM Academy at deborahbell.com and take a look at all the science and other courses that are offered there. There's a full curriculum of courses to choose from for students in grades, just about grades 4 through 12. So you can take the full line of courses, or you can just take a course here or there, whatever works best for you. So as always, we have some fun science experiments, and I thought it might be fun this week to do some experiments with candy, because many of us are going to have a little bit of candy sitting around our house in a couple days, and it might be fun to do something with it besides just eating the candy. So we're going to start this time with some experiments with M&Ms. There's a lot of really fun things that you can do with M&Ms. So the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to use the candy coating on the M&M to create a rainbow. So I'm going to tip my screen down so you can take a look and see the rainbow in action. So give me a second here while I tip this down. Okay, we can see the M&M. So what I've done is I have made a circle of M&Ms on my plate, and you can see no 2 colors are touching another. So I've got alternating colors all the way around. And then I'm going to pour in a little bit of warm water right in the middle. And I'm going to pour it in until it comes into contact with all the M&Ms all the way around. And we'll watch what happens. And as you're watching the rainbow form, I'm going to explain what's happening. So M&Ms were actually created by a man named Forrest Mars when he saw some soldiers in the Spanish Civil War in the 1930s carrying around candy-coated chocolates, and the candy kept the chocolate from melting in their hands. So he came back to the United States, and he teamed up with a man named Bruce Murray, who was the son of the Hershey president, Hershey Candy Company president. And they used Hershey chocolate inside their candy-coated shells to create M&Ms. And M&Ms were first sold to the military during World War II. And then all the soldiers who came home from World War II had loved them so much that they asked for them to be created here. So now take a look, guys. We can see the rainbow starting to form. Now, isn't that beautiful? You can see the colors actually moving into the water. And as we watch a little bit more, we're going to see some things happening. So while we're doing that, I'm going to sort of reach on top of this. I'm going to be very careful not to bump the plate of M&Ms, because if I bump it, that'll affect the movement of the colors. But what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just take the scissors and I'm going to cut an M&M in half. Okay, I've cut that M&M. And now we can see M&M is filled with chocolate. But there's also, look at that white layer on the inside and then the blue layer on the outside. Can you see that? The white layer is candy, and so is the blue layer. So when they make M&Ms, they make them with a little candy dot, and then they flatten the dot, and then they spray on this white candy coating, and they spray many layers of candy coating to make sure that the whole thing is covered. And then the last coat that they put on is a color. And then the M&Ms are placed in a little grooved plate, and they slide through, and then they are stamped with that M. Now, you may sometimes find an M&M that doesn't have the stamp on it. That's okay. They don't consider that to be a flaw, so they'll put those in the bag anyway. So the stamp on the M&M is something that we'll talk about in our next experiment. But look again at the colors that are moving here and how they're forming streaks. I have one that I did about 10 minutes before this video started. So I'm going to move the camera just a little bit so you can see that. Can you see that plate full of, let me see if I can move this back a little bit. I'll try and scoot it without moving it too much. Look at the beautiful colors that makes in the on the plate. Okay, let's put this one back on here, and we will get another view of this. So you can see that these are moving into the center in the stripes. So one question that you might have is why the M&Ms, why the color of the M&Ms is not mixing. Now, if I were to take a spoon which I'm actually going to do. I'm going to take a spoon and I'm just going to show you that we can mix these together. See this? I can take this spoon and I can stir this and mix them together, and it creates kind of a muddy color. But all these are staying separate. Part of the reason for that is because of what's called diffusion. So the color, I'm going to tip this back up and talk to you a minute here. The color of the M&Ms is moving because of diffusion. It's diffusing out away from the M&M and into the water. Well, as long as there's only water where it's diffusing, the color is going to continue moving. But when two colors come up against one another, one is diffusing this way and one is diffusing this way, now we don't have just plain water, and they sort of block one another and prevent the color from leaking over. Now, eventually, if I left this plate sitting overnight, eventually those colors would all mix together, and they certainly would mix together if I stirred them. So let's take one more look at this. I can't lift it up and show you because lifting it would cause it to mix. Isn't that pretty, though? Now, you can do this with many different ways. So let's think about some ways that you can extend this experiment. One thing that you can do is you can put a circle within a circle. So let's say we have a small circle of M&Ms and then a bigger circle of M&Ms on the same plate. Try that and see what you might get. Maybe try making a square of the M&Ms instead of a circle. There's lots of different ways that you can do this.